will begin our meeting this evening for August 28th for the Town Board regularly scheduled meeting. We will start the meeting this evening with roll call. Ms. Eicher.
Mayor Christine Melendez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Miles Baker.
Here.
Cindy Showerman.
Here.
Ken Bennett.
Here.
Paul Rennemeyer.
Here.
Ivan Adams.
Here.
Mr. Baker, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 this evening is review of agenda by the board and addition of items of new business to the agenda for consideration by the board. Are there any addition of items? If not, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as printed tonight.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for Mr. Rennemeyer and a second for Mr. Adams approving the agenda as presented. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And the agenda is approved as presented. Moving on to item 4 is board liaison reports. Mayor Pro Tem Baker, Parks, Recreation, and Culture Advisory Board.
I have no update tonight. There's not been a meeting since my...
And no update met and Windsor Housing Authority.
Windsor Housing Authority met last week, a routine meeting to review budget and vacancies, which all systems are very good right now. Planning Commission met last week, had 2 public hearings, one on the Rain Dance subdivision that's on our agenda tonight, and on the Windshire subdivision that is on our agenda tonight.
Okay. Town Board Member Rennemeyer, Historic Preservation Commission, Great Western Trail Authority.
And Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, and Chamber of Commerce.
I know,
There it
correct,
is.
yeah. There's no update on any of the 3.
Okay. Town Board
Just
Member.
making sure it was, read as presented.
Okay. Town Board Member Adams, Tree Board, Poudre River Trail Corridor Board.
The tree board met last week, but I have to be honest, I was ordered by the doctor not to go home and get to bed, so I did that for a change and followed the doctor's order. But I knew there was a very tenuous discussion going on, but I'd rather wait till I know more about it to talk about it. The Poudre Trail Board meets next week, next Thursday, and I will be there.
Okay. And I have the North Front Range MPO, no new report. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 7th. Mayor Pro Tem Baker will be attending that meeting in Milliken. In my absence, as I will be attending a mayor's summit in Denver the 7th and the 8th, hosted by CML. Downtown Development Authority, we had our meeting on August 16th. Just some of the updates there. Let's see. So the back lot, the town board was provided information. So we all received information regarding the survey and process to move forward. So further action will be timed to coordinate with completion of a letter of intent on the town and DDA parcels. We do have a RFP out on the development. That has been reviewed by both the DDA and the town attorney. It has been forwarded to the preferred developers team for final review, and we are awaiting their response, and we should see something on our September agenda for consideration. We did review the mill and what that looks like and how we're going to move forward. Of course, the IGA that the town, the DDA, and the mill had is no longer it's no longer present. It doesn't pertain to anything, but we met with the mill owner on Friday, and they gave us our assurances to the town that they do plan to move forward with that project. So we should be seeing something hopefully in the next month or so, next 30 to 60 days, about what that will look like and what that means. And then at that town, I gave them our assurances that the DDA and the town were still very interested in seeing that project come to fruition. So at that time, we will look at a new IGA and how we might move forward. We're going to be reviewing the budget, and we will be starting to move into a budget process. creating our budget for 2018. We're going to be having a strategic planning session in September, and part of that will be looking at our budget and what we all want to do and accomplish for 2018. So staff kicked off and held a kickoff meeting with our CU Denver team that is working on the mini grant wayfinding program. So we should be receiving initial results for review on that in October, with the plan finalized later this year. And that's pretty much the highlights then for the DDA meeting. Moving on then to item 6. Item 6 this evening is our public invited to be heard portion of our agenda. This is for individuals wishing to participate in a non-agenda item. When I call your name, you can come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then you will have your time allocation to make comment to the board. This evening, our first person we have and under the public invited to be heard is Mr. Scott Romay.
My name is Scott Romay, and I live at 281 Clark Court. I've known many of you for a long time, and I would like to apologize before I begin because of the emotional nature of what I'm getting ready to say. Today I speak for my entire family, my wife Ashley, our oldest child Sarah, who is a 2012 Windsor High School graduate, our son Jack, our daughter Sydney, who's a Windsor High School junior, our son Alex, a Windsor Middle School 6th grader, and our daughter Maddie, a Grandview Elementary 5th grader. Our son Jack was a senior at Windsor High School, and he died by suicide on the morning of December 15th, 2016. Jack died by a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and I found my son right after this event occurred. At the very second of that fateful decision, the collective lives of myself, my family, and this entire community was changed forever. For those of you who knew Jack, it was known that he was dealing with some tough things that are common for young people today. But we had engaged the help and had the day-to-day support of school staff, Jack's counselors, and his doctors. As a family, we were trying to find the right combination of supportive efforts to help him through the rough time of his young life. We all knew he was struggling, but all of us were doing everything we could think of to help. He made a permanent decision about some temporary challenges, and with that decision comes the collateral damage and pain that is indescribable, almost unbearable, and shows no sign of relenting anytime soon for this family. However, today I want to share with you our feelings about what happened after that terrible moment on December 15th. What occurred after that moment is very worthy of being identified in this public setting and in front of this town board and in front of our town administrators and department leaders. The first town official to arrive at the scene right after the initial on-duty public safety response was Police Chief Rick Klimick. I am certain he came knowing that this was going to be a terrible day for me and my family, and a tough day for the entire community. He immediately came to the scene of Jack's suicide and came to my side with the kind of support and genuine emotion one might only experience from a brother. He came with me to my home and was alongside as my wife learned of our loss. He spent time with my family in tears, offering support in our home. He offered strong and courageous words, all while still leading an investigation to try to unravel the details surrounding the terrible tragedy. Although the initial days after the loss of Jack seemed to be a fogged memory for me, I do remember that Chief Klemick and Officer Chris Darcy came many, many times to our home. Always polite, always kind, always professional, and maybe most importantly to our family at that time, always with words of true sadness and empathy to express. Those supportive efforts continue today, sometimes just in a casual passing, and sometimes during a scheduled update or meeting. There are other great examples of the true spirit of this community. We had one person from the town street maintenance department who we did not know and had never met before. He came and stopped by our home to offer the condolences of the department, himself and his family. Many members of the Windsor Recreation Department, led by Tara Foch, came alongside our family with kind words, support, and assistance. Hundreds of community members, some known, but many unknown, stopped by to drop off a card or flowers or a gift to share with us their emotional support. We received calls, notes, and flowers from many Windsor businesses. Although she wasn't on the town board at the time, Cindy Showerman, who is now on the board, reached out to our family with great sympathy and many offers of support. Another community member, Martin Lynn, without hesitation, dispatched his private plane to pick up our oldest daughter, who was in nursing school at Colorado Mesa University in Grand Junction. Instead of a long and lonely ride home over the mountains, Chief Klemick had her scooped up out of class by the Grand Junction Police Department, delivered to the airport, where they waited with her for an expedited trip back to our local airport. She was back with our family in a quick couple of hours and never out of sight of her chosen and designated watch until she was home with us. As the mayor of this community, Christy Melendez, had an immediate and ongoing impact for our family. Her kind words of support and her commitment to this family go above and beyond the required role of any elected town official, and reinforce her commitment to caring for this entire town, even on the bad days. The support of this town and its leadership was a keystone in our ability as a family to survive the immediate days following that terrible morning. In a neighboring community right across I-25, there have been 5 youth suicides in the 2015-16 school year and 4 more last year in the same community. At a recent board meeting just 2 weeks ago, the stories and words from angry and upset parents and students over how their town and school officials responded to these suicide situations was emotional, insightful, and very, very sad. That community did everything wrong because they needed a policy to guide them through those tragedies. Little was said to families. No one spoke of the incidents at school. No one visited or made contact with the families, and families felt isolated as they were left to figure all of this out on their own. In their fear of doing the wrong thing, they did nothing. The amazing thing here in Windsor is that all of this happened in support of our family without a policy or a mandate. We didn't need one. No one hesitated or waited to be told the right thing to do. This happened because the leadership of this community set the bar high in their immediate words and actions, and the rest of the town employees, staff, and community members simply felt comfortable to follow their lead. It is a perfect example of servitude leadership, where leaders lead from the front with action, allowing and encouraging staff to follow their hearts in support of our family. From their initial efforts came a community-wide outpouring of compassion, openness, and kindness. Wonderful words to describe and define any community, anywhere. But it makes me exceptionally proud to call this town our home. However, we are fighting a societal battle that shows no signs of abating anytime soon. Drugs are more easily available and impotencies never before seen or dealt with. Suicide rates, including drug overdoses from our teenagers, is skyrocketing across the nation. And that includes our children right here in northern Colorado and Windsor. I know it's painful for some to accept, but we are no longer living in 1970, where an effective law enforcement presence in our community might have been managed and budgeted to simply enforce the speed limit on Main Street. I ask this board, every single one of you, to join Mayor Melendez and Chief Klimek in their commitment to me and my family to wage war against those who are determined to harm our children with the unfettered access and influence of drug availability and use in our community and in our schools. Please let my son's death be the wake-up call that keeps all of you focused on doing whatever it takes in our schools and right here in our community to fight this battle. Creatively and with enthusiasm, please find the funds and the support to give our police what they need to update to a modern, well-trained, well-equipped, and properly staffed department. Please keep working with all the other leaders in our community to defend our children and to create the programs and systems that will make a difference in their lives. This is your opportunity to create a legacy of how you will be remembered as members of this town board. Please join me and seize that opportunity to make a difference. In closing, pastor and author Rick Warren wrote about hope when his son died by suicide. He said, "You can go 40 days without food and 3 days without water. You can go 8 minutes without air, but you can't go a single second without hope. It's an essential part of life. When hope is gone, life is over." Please share with your families, and most importantly, your children, this important lesson. There is always help. There is always hope. And most importantly, there is always God. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. From the bottom of our hearts, our family thanks this town board, all town employees, and the Windsor community at large for continued support and prayers. In our greatest time of tragedy, the supportive efforts of this community were defining for us and constitutes a debt that I will never be able to repay in my lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out this evening and sharing your words as hard as they are. to all of us, because it's important for us to hear those words, for the community to be able to heal, and hopefully for your family to continue to heal during this process as well. So, thank you for coming forward, sharing your story. I know you've made a request for a bench. I know that the town has found a bench, and we plan to donate that to you. I don't know who he needs to see.
Myself is fine.
If you want to talk to Mr. Arnold about that, we'll see that you get that bench so that you can make that happen for you in your community. But
All right.
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all of you.
Okay, our next person we have this evening, and obviously I extended out of courtesy an additional 3 minutes per our allotted time, but I hope you all understand that I felt the message was gravely important that we hear his entire message this evening. Our second person this evening is Sarah Witherell. Did I say that correctly? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Sarah Witherell. My address is 450 25th Avenue Court. I am not a Windsor resident. I am an employee of Poudre Valley REA. I'm not here speaking on behalf of PVREA. I wanted to make that clear, but just to give some context as to why I'm here and why I feel invested in the Windsor community as we serve residents and the town as our members. So just wanted to make that clear. What I wanted to speak to you tonight about is the East Point subdivision development. Incidentally, during the development review process, I had spoken with the developer about the possibility of setting aside some land for conservation of the native wildlife that was on that property. That request there was no dialogue beyond the request, which I understood that was a shot in the dark. So I've been kind of watching this development pretty closely. I've noticed over the past couple weeks that that property has been bulldozed. I assume that there was a humane lethal management that was imparted to the wildlife prior to the bulldozing. But when I was driving by the property last Tuesday evening, as I was at the light, I watched 2 prairie dogs dig out from underground and run really disoriented onto 392 and be killed. I pulled over and walked kind of the perimeter of the property, and I could see a number of recently dug holes. So what that has made me aware is happening is that these animals are being bulldozed alive, which I found quite disturbing. I did contact the town the next day, and Senior Planner Paul Hornback was kind enough to speak with me about my concerns. He did advise that the town has no regulations currently in place regarding the management of wildlife during development. He said that other residents have called in with the same concern, and that I should approach the board with a request to change this practice. So here I am this evening. So what I respectfully request of the town board is to consider developing regulations that define the appropriate management of wildlife during development. I understand that not everybody may have an affinity for these animals, but I think we can all agree that imparting humane practices in any action that we can move forward with in a compassionate and a kind way is really beneficial for the community. So I look to the town of Windsor really as a leader in both Larimer and Weld counties. So I would ask that the town really set the bar in this area for other surrounding communities to follow. And if there's anyone that I can follow up with on town staff regarding this request, I'd be happy to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to our agenda, and I do want to note, it was pointed out we don't have an item 5 this evening. So we jumped from 4 to 6, so just for the record. Moving on to item B is the consent calendar. This evening on our consent calendar, we have minutes of the August 14, 2017 regular meeting, resolution number 2017-60, adopting a resolution to vacate 6 8-foot utility easements located within South Hills subdivision. Are there any questions or comments concerning the consent calendar or a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, I would move that we approve the consent calendar as printed.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Adams and a second from Mr. Bennett approving the consent calendar as presented. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And our consent calendar is approved unanimously. Moving on to item C, board action. Our first item this evening is a public hearing for a final major subdivision plat for Rain Dance subdivision second filing. David Nelson and Martin Lind, Rain Dance Land Company, the applicants. Tom Siegel, Water Valley Land Company, is the applicant's representative. It is quasi-judicial. Mr. Hornbeck will be giving the presentation, but first I would seek a motion to open the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move to open public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to open public hearing. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And public hearing is open. Mr. Hornbeck.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, yes.
Madam Mayor, for the record, I'd like to point out that in my capacity as Town Board Liaison to the Planning Commission, I was present at the Planning Commission meeting during which this matter was previously presented. I wish to state that my participation in the Planning Commission proceedings has in no way influenced me in my capacity as a Town Board member this evening. I will make my decision and cast my vote this evening based solely on the evidence presented during this public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hornbeck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Town Board. This request for a final major subdivision has been reviewed in accordance with Article 4, Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code. The subject property is located east of County Road 13 and south of New Liberty Road. The site zoning is Planned Unit Development, or PUD, with an underlying zoning of residential mixed use. The subdivision encompasses approximately 358 acres, and it is consists of 278 single-family lots. The information contained in your packet said 276. There was a minor change since then. So it is 278 lots. Average lot size of around 7,200 square feet. The lots range in size from about 5,500 to 21,000 square feet. There are 24 tracts for drainage, open space, utilities, and access, totaling about 10 acres. There are 2 Metro District park sites, totaling approximately 15 acres. The largest of those park sites is this central area. And so for context, this is the first filing which you previously have approved. Second filing is this area and the smaller park in this area. And again, those are both Metro District parks. There are 4 future development tracts totaling approximately 260 acres and about 28 acres of public right-of-way for roadways. There are also off-site improvements, which include improvements to County Line Road or County Road 13. There was a neighborhood meeting held in accordance with the municipal code. 22 neighbors were in attendance, and meeting summary notes are included in your packet materials. The proposed subdivision is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, particularly Chapter 5B, the growth framework, as well as Chapter 5C, residential areas framework plan. Notification was sent out in accordance with the code for both the neighborhood meeting and the public hearings before the Planning Commission and tonight in front of you all. At their August 16th meeting, the Planning Commission forwarded to Town Board a recommendation of approval of the final major subdivision as presented, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, an executed development agreement incorporating all remaining staff comments shall be completed prior to recordation of the plat. And number 2, A signed plat, public improvement drawings, and infrastructure drawings addressing all planning commission and staff comments shall be shall be completed prior to recordation of the plat. Staff requests the following be entered into the record: application, supplemental materials, staff memo, supporting documents, all testimony presented during the public hearing, and the recommendation. With that, I do want to note the applicant is present, and should you have any questions for him, he has a presentation. Do you want to share that?
I have no presentation tonight.
So that's all I have for you.
Any questions from Mr. Hornbeck or the applicant, Mr. Baker?
I have a question. In your memo, you mentioned 2 Metro District parks. Are those private or open to the public, and are those in addition to anything the town will put in as far as parks?
So those are privately maintained but open to the public. And there, I believe, are discussions for additional park dedication on what's known as the Laboo property to the east for a regional community-sized park that would be serve the whole town.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions? Okay, this is the public hearing, so if there is anybody this evening in the chambers who wish to address public hearing concerning this matter and issue, now would be the time to come forth. Okay. Seeing none and no further questions from board members, I would seek a motion to close public hearing. Mr. McCarter, anything further you need to add?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to close public hearing. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. Public hearing is closed. Moving on to item 2, resolution number 2017-61. A resolution approving the final major subdivision plat for Rain Dance Subdivision second filing. David Nelson and Martin Lind, Rain Dance Land Company applicants, Tom Siegel, Water Valley Land Company, the applicant's representative. Quasi judicial, Mr. Hornbeck, anything further you need to add?
Nothing further.
Okay. Any additional questions, comments from the board? Okay. And, go ahead.
I was just gonna go ahead and make a motion.
Okay.
I would move to approve resolution 2017-61 as presented.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Showerman and a second from Mr. Rennemeyer. All in favor of approving resolution number 2017-61, vote yes, opposed no. The resolution passes unanimously. Moving on to item 3, resolution number 2017-62. A resolution approving an amended master plan for Windshire Park annexation. Alan Pellereau, ASP Development Company is the applicant. Jim Doyle TB Group is the applicant's representative. Quasi judicial, Ms. Malone will give our presentation. Is it Malone or Maloney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's Malone, and I did recently get married, so.
Okay, congratulations.
A much easier name for you.
Okay.
So the item before you is an amended master plan for Windshire Park annexation. The original master plan was approved with the annexation in 2001. After that, it was amended again in 2013, and that amendment took place, it began in 2012 when the property owner plans for a church were part of this development. Since that time, the plan for the church has since gone away, and as such, this is a reason for the second amendment to this master plan. The request has been reviewed in accordance with 15.2 of the municipal code regarding the process and procedure for an amended master plan. The site is located north of Jacoby Road and west of 15th Street. The property is zoned residential mixed use, which allows for a variety of residential and some commercial uses. The proposal, this is the area here highlighted. The overall master plan consists of 188 acres. The tract here shown in yellow consists of 8.5 acres. This is the only area that would change. With the existing master plan, currently what's shown here would be equivalent to 51 dwelling units, and the applicant proposes an increase of 7 units. This would, the overall density would stay the same. While this parcel, the density would go up from 6.0 dwelling units per acre to 6.8, the overall density of 3.5 units per acre for the entire master plan would remain the same. And this is, again, this is the same area shown here. And this highlights the changes here, the existing with the church and equivalent zoning, 51 units, and then the proposed with 58 units, increasing from an overall 668 net units, 664 net units to 671. Overall density remaining at 3.5 dwelling units per acre. This request is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan's Chapter 5, 5A specifically regarding existing infrastructure and prioritizing growth where services are currently available, and Chapter 5C, supporting diverse housing and residential neighborhoods for a variety of housing. The Planning Commission considered this item on August 16th and forwarded to the Town Board a recommendation of approval of the amended master plan and resolution as presented. Staff recommends or is requesting that the following be entered into the record: the resolution, application and supplemental materials, the staff memorandum and supporting documents, as well as the recommendation. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant, Mr. Doyle, is here as well.
Okay. Did you need to read or you can wait till public?
Public hearing, I think.
Okay. Are there any questions for Ms. Malone or the applicant?
Can you, the map is a little tough to read. Can you tell me what some of those roads are so that we can kind of have some bearings on where that is exactly?
Sure, absolutely.
Is that next to our Windsor Housing Authority property right there?
It is. Mm-hmm. As I zoom in, this is a little bit blurry, but this is Windshire Drive, I believe, right here. And the Windsor Meadows Apartments is to the south.
So then is that Jacoby Road at the north end of that?
Jacoby Road is to the south.
Okay.
Oops. It's down, if I could move this little bar here. It's down here. That's Jacoby Road. I'm gonna jump back to the vicinity map here.
Is this the parcel where they've already been doing some development of water and sewer and all of that on this piece?
I believe so. So hopefully this is a better image here with the aerial photo in the background, Jacoby Road here, and this is 15th Street. And this is Windshire Drive right here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
There.
Okay, Mr. Baker?
Thank you. The current, if I'm understanding, currently they could put 51 dwelling units on this, under current zoning and current master plan.
Under the current master plan, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And they're asking for 7 more.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The previous, or the existing master plan includes church and then an equivalent density of 51 units. So,
Mr.
Mrs.
Adams?
Malone, well, that's different to say that, but, anyway, I think I heard you say that the church is going away. Does that mean they're not even looking at that as a possibility,
That's-
later on?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so they're perfectly okay with that.
Any additional questions for staff or the applicant? Okay. If not, is there anything else we need to, at this point in time, take into consideration or for the record, or?
As long
Sec-
as the applicant has nothing to add, if the applicant is satisfied with the record that's been made.
Yes, my name is Jim Doyle with TB Group, and I'm just here to answer any questions you may have, and if you want to see more detail or anything like that, or I'm here to answer those questions, but if everything's okay, then we're fine, so,
Okay,
thank you.
okay, if no additional questions, then I would seek a motion.
I would move to approve resolution 2017-62.
Second?
The motion on the floor to approve resolution 2017-62, all in favor vote yes, opposed no. The resolution passes unanimously. Moving on then to item 4, the public hearing. The public hearing for the final major subdivision plat for Windshire Park subdivision, fourth filing. Alan Polero, ASP Development LLC, the applicant. Jim Doyle, TB Group, the applicant's representative. Quasi judicial, Ms. Malone, I would seek a motion to open the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer, second from Mr. Baker. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. Public hearing is open, 5-1. The yeas are Baker,
I think I
Showerman,
pushed the wrong button. I
Bennett,
meant to push, my thumb was slipped down.
Rennemeyer, and no, Mr. Adams, but we can open it on a simple, on a majority, can we not, Mr.
We can do
McCarthy?
that, or Mr. Adams can correct his vote
Well,
by,
I would like to correct my vote. I didn't realize I was pushing the wrong button.
Okay,
but with
Well, I
that
was pushing
clarification,
both,
it
really.
appears the vote was unanimous.
okay.
Okay.
So our public hearing is open. Do you have anything further to offer for the record, Ms. Malone?
I do not. No.
Okay. Any additional questions, Mr. Bennett?
Madam Mayor, for the record, I'd like to point out that in my capacity as a town board liaison to the Planning Commission, I was present at the Planning Commission meeting during which this matter was previously presented. I wish to state that my participation in the Planning Commission proceedings has in no way influenced me in my capacity as a town board member this evening. I will make my decision and cast my vote this evening based solely on the evidence presented during this public hearing.
Okay. So seeing no questions from the board, this is the public hearing. Is there anybody on this particular topic or subject who wanted to come forward during the public hearing and speak on this issue?
Madam Mayor, if I may, the
Yes.
public hearing is for the subdivision versus the master plan. So item number C4 and C5, C4 being the public hearing for the major subdivision plat. And the amended master plan is not a public hearing item.
Okay.
However,
We're on item C4, are we not?
Correct, so we're now to the
Okay.
subdivision approval phase. The public hearing is required under the code before you can consider whether to approve the subdivision. And so my recommendation is that staff make a record explaining what the subdivision is about, where it is, the usual presentation on a subdivision, let the applicant have an opportunity to make further record, and then take public comment before considering closing
Okay.
the public hearing.
Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you. So the final major subdivision for Windshire Park, subdivision for filing, is the platting of the property that you previously saw, again, north of Jacoby Road, west of 15th Street, also north of the Windsor Meadows Apartments and Windshire Drive. The application was reviewed in accordance with the major subdivision process as outlined in section 17.4 of the municipal code. Again, same location, same acreage, 8.5 acres. It is zoned residential mixed use. Residential mixed use does allow for townhome development, and the applicant has requested platting, as you see here, for townhome lots. This includes 57 townhome lots. Open space within the interior. There's also open space tracts along the exterior and landscape buffering, as you'll see in the next plan. The applicant has a presentation as well to share more detail on that. There was a neighborhood meeting with the preliminary major subdivision on February 9th of 2016 that was held at the Windsor Recreation Center. And there were no concerns at that meeting, a lot of inquiries, but no issues or concerns raised at that meeting. After such, the applicant submitted the final major subdivision, and this has been advertised as shown here. The area in purple are the properties that were notified. And similar to the last request, this request is consistent with Chapter 5, A and C of the town's comprehensive plan, which encourages development where there's existing infrastructure and town services. And also, this request supports the goal of providing diverse housing and for a variety of family sizes, lifestyles, and income. On August 16th, the Planning Commission considered this item and recommended to the town board a recommendation of approval with the condition that any remaining Planning Commission and staff comments are addressed. Staff requests that the following be entered into the record: the resolution, staff memorandum and supporting documents, the recommendation, and any testimony during the public hearing. That concludes my presentation. The applicant has a presentation that they would like to share. Let me get out of this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and town board members. My name is Jim Doyle with TB Group, and I just want to give you a brief overview of our site plan and landscape plan and kind of speak to that with you. We have a variety of, well, just to answer where we're located first. Coming off here is Guardian Drive leading into here, and then we have Windshire Drive to the south and County Road 15 to the east. We have two access points, one coming off of Windshire Drive and then another one coming off of Guardian here. And as Carlin spoke to the number of units, we have 57 units, which varies. It's actually 6 units more than what the master plan amendment had. But our units range from 5 units. We have a few 5-unit buildings, such as here, there's one here, and then the remaining are 4 units, and then we have a few like a 3 unit here, and then 2 units here. So one thing we tried to do with this development is really be complementary to Windshire, the Windshire neighborhood that's existing to the west. These homes here, we wanted to really keep the architecture in the same complementary colors, earth tones and things like that. And then we also have an extensive landscape plan with a wide variety of different plantings, but we have meet the street tree requirement along the roadways, and then each building will have different ornamental grasses, shrubs, and perennials around each building. And then we also have a large amount of green space. One thing we wanted to do was keep the backyards where we have a community or common open space behind those. So a lot of these units have a common open space that's going to be maintained by the HOA. And then we also have 32 parking spaces for guest parking throughout the neighborhood. We have some spaces here, there's some spaces here, some parallel parking up in here, and a couple parallel parking spaces here. And the other thing we have that's complementary to the existing Windshire is fencing. We have a 4-rail fence that goes around, starting at this end of the property line here, and moving down, and also along County Road 15, and then along Windshire. And within that, intermittently, we have spaced out stone columns that match exactly what there's already been done in Windshire, this existing Windshire neighborhood. And then we also do have some signage at each entry into the project. So if you have any comments or questions or concerns, I can answer those for you. Or
Are there any questions? Mr. Bennett?
Yes, you mentioned that the landscaping would be maintained by the HOA. Could you clarify, is it HOA or is it Windshire Metro District?
it would be, we would have our own HOA. Yes, we would. We would have our own HOA.
It'd be its own
It's its own
HOA.
entity, yes.
Are these units rentals or for purchase?
They would be for purchase. But again, that's not, we can't prevent people if someone did buy the
Right,
property
but
from
your
renting
intent
it.
is
But that's
to-
not our intent to
Your
rent them
intent
out.
is to sell.
Correct.
Okay, so owner, they'd be owned. Is there a relationship between this neighborhood and the Windshire Metro District?
I believe there are some, there's some allowances that allow the members of this neighborhood to use the neighborhood pool in the Windshire development. So, would you like to hear from the
Sure.
owner?
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Alan Polero, 1516 Landon Court, Windsor. This particular subdivision is a part of the Metro District, but it has its own separate HOA, so it's not a part of Windshire HOA. It would have its own separate HOA. It is a part of the Metro District, though.
Thank you. So would the owners be paying fees to both the Metro District and the HOA?
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? Ms. Sharman?
Would the HOA be covering the exterior of the buildings, or will those be the responsibility of the owners?
That would be the intent, that the product is intended to be a very low maintenance-free product to potential buyers. And so the HOA would cover all of the exterior of the buildings as well as the exterior landscaping and et cetera.
And by the exterior, that would include the roof as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Baker?
I have a question on the parking. Is 32 open spaces, is that just the minimum, or did that exceed town code?
I believe that is.
Yes, that exceeds town code. That's just in addition to what we already have provided. Each townhome has 2 spaces for each unit. Plus, if you count the driveway spaces, total we have 260 parking spaces for the residences, and then the 32s on top of that.
Okay, so they're 2-car garages with a extended driveway?
Yes. I think I misspoke on that. We actually have total 260 is the
Okay.
number of spaces with the 32 spaces.
Okay. Mr. Adams?
I'm just curious from previous experience, are there covenants already written, or will they be written?
There will be covenants written for this, that will govern what the residents can do in the neighborhood as far as guidelines. Yes.
Has there been any discussion about percentage of rentals in that place?
I'm sorry, percentage?
A percentage of rentals in that covenant?
They haven't been finalized yet, so I don't think that's been worked out yet as far as like percentage. And again, legally, I don't think there's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anything that can prevent people from renting out a property if they own it. But like I said, our intent is not to have that happen, sir.
From previous experience, I know there are laws about it and you can do it. I'm just suggesting that
Sure.
you take a look at it because it could create problems for you.
Well taken. We'll look into that and work that into the covenants if we can, sir. Thank you.
Are all the units multi-level, or are there any single level?
I believe they're all two-story units, yes.
Two-story units?
Yeah. And I have some images of the architecture if you'd like to see that too.
Okay. Would you like to see that? Sure.
Yes, I would.
Bear with me here. So these images up there now are showing you the frontages of what the units will look like. We have porches. Every unit has a front porch. So we were trying to bring the residents towards the street side to create that neighborhood feel. And then also, we have a variety of materials that we're using on the building. We have stone columns here, which would be faux stone, and then also we have wood siding along the sides, and then also some stucco built in with that. And then the roof line is articulated in varying angles to create some interesting architecture for the neighborhood. Let me see if I can. This image is showing just what the side will look like. One thing we did working with Carlin wasn't our original planner, so we worked a lot with Josh before he left, but using the landscape, we're going to utilize that to really screen the side utilities so that those won't be viewable from the side units. So we really tried to do a good job with that. And then also to provide some privacy for each individual unit, we have these partition walls that separate, that are in between each unit too, to provide some privacy for each unit, so it doesn't feel like you come out on your porch and you're looking right at your neighbor. Plus, that coupled with the landscaping will do a good job of screening your neighbors. So, and you can see along here, there's some stone here, and then the wood siding. And I think I skipped one.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes, will any of these units have, or would you consider some units that might have a main floor bedroom?
I'd have to delegate that to Alan here. He knows more about what the actual buildings are. Can you speak to that?
All right, sir. Every unit actually has a main floor master. We have 2 floor plans proposed right now, exterior units and the interior units, but every unit right now has a main floor master.
Any additional questions? I have a question probably for Ms. Malone. At the neighborhood meeting, did you have any negative comments with regards? I saw that you had a neighborhood meeting, but I don't think I saw any of the comments presented in the packet.
Right, no negative comments that I'm aware of, no. It was a little before my time, but according to the notes, there weren't any negative comments.
Okay.
I had a question.
Okay.
Do you know what the price point is for these units? Do you know where you're gonna be offering?
We're looking at mid to low 300s and higher, so starting around there, and then just depending on market cost and things like that. But that's around where we're at. So again, that's an unknown, but that's kind of where we're starting, so.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Baker.
Yeah, one more question. You touched on the fencing, but I must not have heard. What kind of fencing is gonna be along those existing homes on the west side?
Okay, I have an image of that. Good question here. I have something here. So again, we're matching what is existing out there at Windshire now. So we have a column here, which will be stone with a stone cap, and that's usually at the end of near the entrances, and I believe every corner of the property will have that marker there. And then we'll have the wood fencing stained to match what's on the existing Windshire. So that'll be the fencing that we're proposing.
So they have the same type of fencing,
Yes.
and there will be some space in between these two fences, is that?
Well, this fencing is only along the perimeter. The existing fence that's on, if we go back to the site plan, that fence will still remain from the existing property to the west, so. There's an existing fence already along here, so there wouldn't be that the fence, the image I just showed you will only be along the perimeter.
So they have their own fencing that exists already?
Yes.
You won't add anything?
No, so there won't be two fences next to each other.
Any additional questions? Mr. McCarter, now would we be ready to open this to public comment?
The applicant has nothing more to add, then that would seem appropriate.
Okay, do you have
I'd just
anything
like to
further?
show you our, what we have proposed for the signage, just to
Okay.
kind of finish everything off. And again, just to reiterate how we tried to complement the existing neighborhood, and we really tried to bring everything together, but this is our proposal for the signage at each of the entrances, so that kind of gives you a little idea of what that's gonna look like, and it will be lit at night, so, and landscaped around the sign too, so. But that pretty much wraps up everything that I have, so.
Okay. Any additional questions concerning the signage? Okay, if not, this is the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the chambers this evening who wish to speak to the board concerning this public hearing item? Okay, seeing none, I would seek a motion to close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, a first and second to close public hearing. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And public hearing is closed. Moving on to item 5, resolution number 2017-63. A resolution approving the final major subdivision plat for Windshire Park, fourth filing, Alan Polero, ASP Development LLC, the applicant, Jim Doyle, TB Group, the applicant's representative. Ms. Malone, anything further?
Yes, I'd like to present the findings for the site plan.
Okay.
That's right. I didn't hear that we took action on the subdivision, so we need to first take action, and following the closure of the public hearing, the next item is approval of the resolution approving the.
For item 5, that's what we're on now. Is that correct?
Correct. So there should be no further record made with respect to the subdivision.
Okay.
It's just an action.
Okay. Is
Are
there
you
a?
looking for a motion?
Yep.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 2017-63.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer and a second from Mr. Bennett approving resolution 2017-63. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And that passes unanimously. Moving on then to item 6, resolution number 2017-64. A resolution approving the final site plan for Windshire Park, fourth filing. Alan Polero, ASP Development LLC, the applicant, Jim Doyle, TB Group, the applicant's representative. Quasi judicial, and again, presentation from Ms. Malone.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Board. This item before you is the final site plan, and in according to the municipal code, A multifamily site plan requires both a preliminary site plan, which is an action item by the planning commission, and then final site plan action and approval by the town board. The application was reviewed in accordance with section 17.7 of the municipal code, which outlines the site plan procedure and process for site plans, specifically those zoned for multifamily. Again, the property is located north of Jacoby Road, west of 15th Street and Windshire Drive. The property is 8.5 acres, and the proposal is for 57 townhome units with attached garages. The site is zoned RMU, mixed-use residential, which does allow for townhome development. And similar to the subdivision that you saw prior, this is the site plan, and just some highlights. Approximately 50% of the site will be HOA maintained open space and landscaping. There are sidewalk and trail connections throughout, and 114 garage parking spaces with the 32 additional parking spaces that Mr. Doyle mentioned in his previous presentation. This is the overall landscaping plan. Again, including a lot of landscape buffering along 15th Street and adjacent to the residential to the south and west and along the western boundary as well. I will skip through the building elevations here as you saw the colored renderings. This item was considered by the Planning Commission on August 16th, and the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation to the Town Board of Approval with the condition that all remaining Planning Commission and staff comments are addressed. Staff requests that the following be entered into the record: the resolution, application and supplemental materials, staff memorandum, and supporting documents. I have nothing further to add on this item. The applicant can answer any questions you might have too.
Any questions for the applicant or Ms. Malone this go round? What is the setback for the back end of the properties that are adjacent to 15th Street?
I'm gonna need to zoom in here. Do you know what the setback is offhand? Okay, 53.2. 53 feet 2 inches.
Okay. And does the town maintain an easement all along County Road 15? Does the town have an easement along County Road 15?
For utilities?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we know what, is that adequate enough for any future considerations of improvements on that road in the future? Are we allowing?
Well, I'm assuming so because engineers reviewed this, so I would hope so. I don't know if there's a better answer than that.
Okay.
So I would assume that's something we look at and make sure we approve.
Okay. And the roadway in the subdivision or itself, how wide are those streets? They just look awful narrow considering the amount of units in that.
These driveways here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, just all the roadways in there, they just are standard road size, or what are they comparable to? Are they comparable to what else is out there in Windshire?
Yes,
Okay.
it meets the code, it's the
like,
So there isn't
28.
anything we give different consideration when it's multifamily versus single family in terms of, it just looks
It's 28 feet now.
28 feet, okay.
So those would be public streets, publicly maintained, correct?
The-
So they do meet our standard width.
these drives here are private, just to clarify. So this one here, these ones here are 28 feet, and then the internal drive here is shown as 24 feet.
Okay.
And that 24 feet is primarily to accommodate fire.
Is there sidewalks in, and where do they fall in conjunction with all of this? Within this development for folks to walk around in the development itself? Or do they have to walk along either the back end or the front end of their properties?
Can we go back to that cover version? So as far as sidewalks, we have sidewalks, there's a detached walk along County Road 15. And then also there's a detached walk along Guardian Drive here. And I believe, let's see. Yes, along Windshire Drive, it's attached here. And then we have sidewalks all throughout the neighborhood.
Oh, you do,
along
in
the
front of the
roadway.
properties?
Yes,
In the front
each,
side?
there's I believe it's 5 feet, so it's 4.5 including the curb and gutter, so
Okay.
the curb. So there are sidewalks all throughout there.
Okay.
Mr. Arnold, did you say that it's public responsibility
Well, that's,
to
I asked
maintain the
that.
streets?
I asked that, but I'm not certain the answer is correct. So are these public or private streets?
Private.
These are private.
Okay.
I think we've always,
So it would be maintained by the
HOA would maintain.
by the
yes.
development?
Yes.
And you're aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I just heard that and I thought that would be different, so,
Right.
all right.
Okay. Any additional questions from my fellow board members? Okay. We have everything we need to enter into the public record for this final.
You may want to ask if there's anyone in the public who wishes to speak, but absent that, the record seems complete.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public who wish to speak to the board on this particular item? Okay. Seeing none, I would seek a motion for this resolution.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 2017-64.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Bennett and a second from Mr. Rennemeyer. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. Approving resolution 2017-64. And the resolution passes unanimously. Moving on to item 7, resolution number 2017-65. A resolution approving and adopting the schedule of fees applicable to liquor licensing administration within the town of Windsor, Colorado. This is a legislative item, and Ms. Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Board. Before you is a resolution for consideration of liquor licensing fees. At the end of 2017, the Director of Liquor Enforcement started to do an audit of the fees that were being charged by the municipalities and what they had approved at the state level to be charged. And through that process, they had found that there were fees that had been approved by liquor enforcement that really, by statute, were not allowed to be charged, and also a reduction of some of those fees that had been charged. Additionally, they found that they were not allowing municipalities to charge enough on things like a brand new license and things like that. There is a working group that is meeting about on a monthly basis, and CML represents the municipalities in that working group, but they are continuing to review these fees. And when they find an adjustment, they are going through an emergency rulemaking process in order to make those fees effective almost immediately. So in the past, we've had liquor license fees are generally approved through the legislature. And there's time for us to bring these to you and have an opportunity to create a resolution and adopt those fees once they're approved at the legislative side. But since we're kind of going through this process, they're making changes very quickly, and, you know, we are not objecting to those changes. We understand why they're making those changes, but they are happening very quickly, and there will be more. So instead of us always having to come back and tell you, you know, ask you to consider a resolution to approve, you know, any changes to liquor licensing fees, this particular resolution would approve the fees that are current and then any others that become amended over time. If you would like, I can always give you updates. I can put something in communications when those changes occur. I do know, like I said, I do know there will be more changes coming, particularly in 2018. So staff is recommending approval of this. It will certainly help us from an administration standpoint so that we can give accurate information to our licensees. At this point, it's, you know, this is what the town board approved in 2012. This is what liquor enforcement allows us to charge. We can never charge anything more than what liquor enforcement gives us. So, end of story.
Is the reason, I'm sorry. Is the reason that you anticipate it changing, is that due to the passage of the law for liquor light stores?
Some of that is part of it. You know, they're discussing special event permits, and maybe not, you know, allowing certain groups to have special event permits, and maybe we'll, you know, charge certain amounts to different people. Also, the Senate Bill 16, I think it was 1697, 197 maybe. I can't remember right off. But yes, some of those fees that also enacted the lodging and entertainment license, which is a new fee, which is just starting, so I anticipate some changes to that as well.
Any other questions from?
What is the lodging and entertainment versus the hotel?
It is something new. This year we have always had what was considered a tavern license. And a tavern license was a license that would allow you to just kind of serve snacks and then have a full bar. Well, a lot of places were getting those tavern licenses that really didn't qualify for the tavern license, and liquor enforcement was finding that out. So what they're doing is they're transitioning out the tavern license and creating this lodging and entertainment license. The entertainment license side of it would, what we're working to, they haven't come down with a defined industry that fits, but you know, we're thinking from the clerk standpoint, like your salons that have, you know, that would like to serve wine with a haircut or something like that, or, you know, a bingo parlor, you know, that's a type of entertainment. So that's kind of where that lodging and entertainment license is coming in.
Versus bars trying to slip in.
Correct.
Serving food. Okay.
Correct.
Does this cover entertainment districts? Where would those be covered in this, should we, you know, move forward with those?
Sure, that'll be separate. That'll be under a completely separate resolution. That won't fall under the liquor
It won't
enforcement.
fall into any of what we currently have in these
Correct.
categories.
And we are still on target bringing something to you next month?
Yes, next month. First meeting next month.
Okay.
You'll have your entertainment district.
So really, these fees and the amounts associated with them are really directed by LED, and we don't have any, we have no jurisdiction over those, raising them or lowering them.
Correct,
They're
unless you-
mandated to us?
Correct, unless, you know, there was somebody who would carry a bill, you know, and make some recommended changes at the legislature. So essentially, this is, you know, and I think liquor enforcement tries to do their best to create a fee schedule that is fair and equitable.
So if that's the case, I would be in favor of passing this resolution so that it approves not only the recommendations this evening, but anything that moves forward. However, when there are those changes that do move forward, then I would just like them to be put in our packet so that we see some kind of notification of what is changing, or that we're made aware if there's even, I guess you would even get notification if there's some laws or something that are changing with regards, so that we're just kind of kept in the know, but that would be my preference.
Absolutely. I would like to do that. I need to keep the board informed about what's happening at that level, so I would
Any
be more than happy to.
additional questions for Ms. Garcia or comments? Seeing none, then I would seek a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2017-65.
Second?
Motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer and a second from Ms. Sharman approving resolution number 2017-65. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And the resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8 is our economic development report update from Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Town Board members. I'm going to pull up my report here real quick. Tonight, Crystal handed out 2 things to you. Just wanted you to be aware we have now, with Katie's help and her department, updated our business assistance guide. This is just a general guide. It's not our primary employment guide, but it actually gives people an idea of things that they can qualify for, not only locally, but regionally, state, and federally. So this is stuff that we use when people come into our office and we'll sit down and talk about their project to say, what else can we capture for you while you're here to help you with your project in Windsor. So it has a fresh new look. So thank you to Katie and her department for helping us design that. The second thing that you have in front of you is your attraction prospect report. There's a few numbers that have changed on the front. I got a little zealous and hit 92 instead of, we have 89 actual prospects. So just wanted you to be aware and have an accurate count of those prospects that we've had year to date. So where that is coming from. Oh, okay. Okay, good. I thought I was doing it, so I was just trying to back up slowly. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
I'm doing well tonight, huh?
No, you're fine. I just thought it was me. So just to give you some quick updates of some things that have happened since I was here in June, we had the East Point groundbreaking, and that was on July 6th. I'd say there are probably about 30 to 40 people out there. And we did that, and they have begun moving dirt and moving forward with that project. We did have site selection visit. Northern Colorado Economic Alliance had 5 site selectors from across the United States that came in, and they toured Larimer and Weld County. It was a quick kind of whirlwind trip. They came in like Wednesday night and Thursday and Friday, so I was with them all day Thursday and Friday, as I know some of you were able to come to that as well. I think they're planning on doing that on an annual basis. They've sent some updates and feedback already about how they felt about it. I think they felt we tried to jam too much in, so we may spread that out a little bit longer. But it was a pure pleasure to actually have 5 site selectors come and tour the region. I was able to talk to them specifically about Windsor and what's going on. We did a flyover for that. I know Jill went down and picked somebody up at the airport, so we had a solid hour and a half to go Windsor on them. And so we were able to get some one-on-one time as well as, the other people, the other communities as well. So. And then we had our all manufacturers meeting with the B2B at MASH Labs. So the manufacturer sector partnership, all the manufacturers get together and meet twice a year. And that meeting was at American Eagle Distributing, but then we were able to get them over into Windsor at MASH Labs, and they came and enjoyed and got to network over there afterwards. So that was all paid for by the manufacturers group. And then just to let you know too, we did have, Kelly and I have re-engaged with the retail study that we talked about. We kind of gave it a pause for a minute when we didn't really know what was going on when Amazon announced their merger with Whole Foods, or they're purchasing a Whole Foods, and we don't know. So we've taken those 5 areas that we've identified, and now really what we hope to do is engage the town board as well to really look and see, what do you want for your vision in those 5 areas? And then we have a better idea of what we can fit into those retail areas. Because retail is still trying to figure out what's going on in so many different worlds, it doesn't mean we're stopped doing retail engagement. We're still engaging and working with companies. I'm still sending out leads to some of our business parks just this past week. So we're still doing that, but I think it'll give us a tone to actually understand what kind of product you guys want to see in those areas and what fits best into those type of neighborhoods. So I'm going to go over some real quick numbers, and I won't keep you too long. We do have 89 prospects through June of 2017. 71 of those are still active, and we've had 20 companies that have come here to visit. No surprise still, a major leading category is industrial. That seems to be our #1 search for request for property. And then we have a tie this time of manufacturing and professional and technical services. So it's nice to see that we still have that. Those are our 2 #1 categories for businesses in Windsor, just so you know. So When we work with those type of companies and
Can you
continue to.
repeat that again? Which one is it? I'm sorry.
So it's manufacturing,
Okay.
and then professional, technical, and scientific. So based off of the NAICS code, or the National Association of Industry Classification Standards. So that's how we tag all of these into those specific categories. Prospect activity, Xceligent continues to be our number one. That's our real estate database that we subscribe to every year. Continues to be our number one lead source of where we get the leads from. A close second is companies, direct contact with our office, which is good. We like to get our name out there and let people know that we're here to help. Real estate, again, people are looking, almost 50% are looking for existing space. As you can tell, the size of that space still remains predominantly under 25,000 square feet. What's interesting this last quarter is that it's now 1,000 to 2,000 square feet of space. It's shrunk from that 5 to 15, and a lot of it is really, trying to put more detail into the numbers so you can really kind of see what actual size square footage that people are looking for. So it's really interesting that through the summer, and we've had this really peak looking for really small space. The good news is that 52% of those people still want to own. That's what I look for. I like to see that they're still looking to purchase and make an investment in a community. They don't just want to lease and come in and out maybe, but they're really, the majority of those prospects that we're working with and looking at really want to own their own space, which is nice. We did have 10 that were non-qualified for so far this year, and the reasons we didn't qualify was mainly the type, existing industrial space. 25,000 to 750,000 square feet was one of the requests we had, which I don't know of anybody that has any of that in Colorado at all, but that was a big one that we saw. So just to let you know, give you a quick update on business retention and expansion. Jill has been focused on that. We've had 41 company visits, including meeting with the 12 at 12 and those 10 companies that we've got to talk with and get to know. Jill is feverishly setting up more and more visits with existing industry. I know Kelly's joining in on a few of those as well. So we're really trying to get out there and make sure that our companies are doing okay and that we're here to help and that they know the resources that we have available to help them. And most importantly, that we're thankful that they're here in our town. Currently, we're working with 6 different companies on expansions too, so that's good news. Prospects, where we stand kind of year to date, we've had 86 so far that are the active ones. The 3, remember, are from 2015 and 16, so 86 new ones this year in 2017. Same time through June of last year was only 57. So we've had a slight uptick in prospect activity from last year. So
Why do you suppose that?
What?
Why do you suppose?
It's people feeling comfortable with their environment and moving forward. It just depends. Banks are still lending, people are still moving forward. It could be, I know last year was kind of a hiccup because it was an election year and people get they put things on pause when they just don't know what's going to happen. Now they're either accepting what's happening and they're living with it, or they're, whatever is, but they're feeling comfortable enough to move forward with the way that everything's going and the actual economy is running. Everybody seems to be doing really well, and we're getting a lot more little retail trade kind of things too coming out. So, but with that, I will ask if anybody has any questions or comments.
Mr.
Yes.
Adams.
Stacy, I was out on Crossroads and Fairgrounds today, and what is your department's role, or say our town's role, in all the things that are happening north of Crossroads and east of Fairgrounds Avenue right now? Can you
So
talk
the
a little
Brands
about
East
that?
project, the Brands East.
Well, I assume it's Brands, and so has that all been decided? We're now at the point where they're just building?
Well, I've been working with existing companies that have been submitting site plans out there. So I just actually met with one today, and our liquor department helped them as well. So met with one prospect out there that they're trying to make sure they get all their ducks in a row. And I know of 3 or 4 others that have submitted, I believe, and or are in the process of submitting out there. So I still work with them and help them if they need it through the process, but I submit suggestions to their team that's doing a lot of the attraction effort for that particular project. However, anything north of that, or still working on those different industries all the way up County Road 5 to 392 as well. So.
Thank you. I was just
Yeah.
curious because it just seems
Yeah.
like a lot of stuff is happening out there.
It's fun, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, so it's good.
It is.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen
Right.
it, go out and take a look because it's exciting.
Yeah, so the Kana Hotel Group is under construction too with the Marriott Suites, Spring Hill Suites Hotel. So that's under construction out there. And I know 3 or 4 other that are coming out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Johnson? Thank you for a good report.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9, another report, hopefully with good news. A financial report for July 2017. Mr. Moyer.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. In your packet is the monthly financial report for July. And again, thanks to Katie and her staff, we had changed the format to be more in line to our standard reporting. So it may look a little different, but the story is really pretty much the same. We keep hitting our sales tax collection marks. One thing that you will not see in this report going forward are the number of building the permit numbers. I'll leave that to Scott and his report with the planning department. So moving on to page 2, we have some familiar charts there. The one on the top details our use tax collections for the month of July. You can see the horizontal line is about 236,000. That's our monthly collection requirement. And July, you can see we collected 562,000. So no worries there. The chart at the bottom we've been using for a number of years. Sales, use, and property tax. At this time of year, at the end of July, you like to have 58% of your collections. We have hit that mark in all 3 of those categories. Moving on to page number 3, July 17 versus July 16. 17 was higher by 99,500, almost 100,000, or 9.6%. Again, moving and staying within that same chart, the horizontal numbers, the horizontal line, I should say, marks our monthly collection requirement. We cleared that in both of the categories, both the 3.2 collection and the 0.75. I wanted to spend just a little more time on the month highlights section. As we've been talking, Amazon has started remitting sales tax from internet sales. And when I was, last time I did this report, we talked about that. Somebody asked, do we have any other internet retailers sending us money? My answer at the time was I did not think so. Turned out I was wrong. When I was checking that Amazon had paid this month again, I looked on our list, and being that it was a quarterly collection month, I noticed a couple of other .coms on there, and they were not nearly the size. Amazon collects monthly. These were other ones that were quarterly filers, and were a couple thousand filed in the quarter, so they didn't make near the bump that Amazon did. But on further review, the examples were Walgreens.com, Best Buy, Lowe'sHomeImprovement.com. So I was thinking back now, how did we discover that? And how we did it was we audited all those companies in the past few years. And the auditing company that we use, it's called Revenue Recovery Group, or RRG. One of the things that they do when they do an audit like that is they just look for the .com side of it as well. Now, we made a list of some of the larger retailers that we want to take a look at, and part of the audit process will be to ensure that the auditor checks for that .com part of their business as well, so we can keep increasing that database. So anyway, overall, it's looking good for sales tax. It looks like we will come in around 11.4 million for our total collection this year. Moving on to page number 4, you can see year-to-date collections there at the top. We are up 5.09%, or about 267,000 sales tax dollars collected over July year-to-date of 2016. Moving on to expenditures on page 5, again, you want to have about 58% as a benchmark. The general fund chart on the top of the page, we are just slightly over that. It's not something to be concerned about because July and August or June, July, and August are our biggest operations months. It'll start now we'll close the pool. You know, we won't have to keep mowing the lawn for the entire rest of the year. So our expenditures for operations will start going down. On the other side of that, moving to page 6, we have our capital projects are kind of go the opposite way. We do a lot of the work during the summer, but we end up not paying for a lot of it till the fall. So while the operations will get less in the fall, the capital projects will be more of the expenditures. The page 7 is a chart that we have used for a number of years that details our current 2017 capital projects and their status. A new thing on the back page, we added our budget calendar, what we're using in developing our 2018 budget. Some of this stuff has already occurred. Last week we did our capital improvement plan, so that's moving along. And you can see we have the hearings and whatnot and the adoption coming up in future board meetings. One last thing, we talked about last week about revenues. We have since found out what our assessed valuation is from both of the counties. Good news on that, between Larimer and Weld County, our assessed valuation is roughly $496 million, so almost $500 million. That's $35.8 million higher than last year. 26.6 of that from Weld County, 9.2 in Larimer. So what, I penciled it out, what an extra $35.8 million will, in assessed valuation, what that would translate at our current mill levy would be another $430,000 for our general fund operations for 2018. So that being said, that's at the end of the report. And short of that, I'll answer any questions, but that is my report for this evening.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Moyer?
How much was the Amazon again?
It's roughly around 19,000 to 20,000 a month.
Consistently?
Yes, since we started getting it, yeah, it's always been in around that area.
Extra 250,000 a year. Can handle it.
Okay. Ms. Sherman?
On the chart on page 4, where it breaks down the sales tax revenue by geocode, what goes into the no location that's 42%? Is that just like the .com type of stuff?
Yeah, that means that they don't have a physical store here. A lot of that handles a lot of our the cell phone companies and that kind of thing that charge a sales tax on their cell phone service, but they don't have a physical presence here in town.
Any other questions for Mr. Moyer? Okay. If not, thank you for another good report.
Thank you.
Okay. We do also have a report in our packet, the police report. Are you gonna make mention of that during communications, or?
If you like to do it now, he'll come up.
Okay, go ahead, chief, come on up, since we're.
I don't have a copy of the report with me. Basically, from memory on this report, you'll see that there's some spikes, mainly in the traffic area. In the recent month, some of the items are down. You see like sex assaults and things. Those tend to be trending. What happens, they may have a bunch one month and a few the next month. They might not have any. So criminal mischief and vandalism and trespasses seem to be on the rise. They always tend to start to spike around the time when school goes back into session. It was a busy month with the 4th of July. We had a lot going on. There was 10 citations issued for fireworks in July. Only 2 of those were to Windsor residents. So a lot of that are people coming into the community that do not live here. And so while the fine is pretty hefty, it's not nearly as hefty as it is in some of the locations like Fort Collins, where it's $1,000 for the fine. So overall, it was a busy month. I think it was over 1,500 calls for service, which basically is anything from please meet me over here to I lost my cat. So some of those, while they're not in depth, they do take up time for the officers to handle. So it was a fairly busy month. So, any questions on the report?
Okay. Any questions?
Just to comment, I appreciate the training programs.
Yes,
It's
we're working
really
very hard on
valuable, Really valuable.
It has been an emphasis this year, and we're going to continue that strongly. We just brought in a longtime trainer from Fort Collins to talk with the platoons on some of their leadership skills. So it's an ongoing process throughout the department.
Right. Yes, thank you. As evidenced by our survey results, obviously safety is a high priority in this community. And as Mr. Rami signified, thank you for not only keeping us safe, but caring so much about what you do and about our citizens as well.
Well, you're very welcome. This is a good department, it's a good community, so I'm very proud to serve here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Okay.
I know we're just a couple weeks in, but how's the school resource officer situation going so far?
I hate to say it, but I am so wrong. I was always a big naysayer to the SRO position. I say we don't need one. It is highly successful. It's far exceeding any of my expectations to date. Mr. Darcy is highly engaged, and you'll get more on his activities in the next month's report.
Okay. Anything else? Well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Item D, communications. Communications from our town attorney.
Nothing from me, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Communications from town staff. Chief, anything further? Nothing further. We must have love in the air in our town hall because we have Miss Malone, which is a new last name. Do you have anything to report to us this evening? Okay, and we have an upcoming bride-to-be next. Miss Unger, do you have anything?
Just wish me luck Saturday. A little nervous, but.
And what happens after Saturday, last name wise?
Hodeling is my last name. It's really long.
Yodeling?
Best of luck saying that. You
Yeah.
just call me Kelly though.
Okay. Thank you. Well, congratulations to you, our current bride and a bride-to-be, so. Ms. Garcia.
So I passed some information out to you prior to the work session regarding Harvest Fest and the activities. Chief Klemick and Sherilyn are really the ones that are coordinating everything this year, but I got the email or the memo out to the town board. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me or Sherilyn or Rick anytime during the event or prior to. And afterwards, no, you can't talk.
Thank you. Mr. Balstead. Ms. Johnson? Ms. Van Meter? Thank you for transforming all of the materials that we were looking at this evening. Mr. Wagner? Mr. Moyer? Okay, moving on then to communications from our town manager.
I don't really have anything. I just was reminded today, 17 years ago, I left Laramie as a city manager and went back today, dropped off my son. I did have an observation. I never really want to talk bad about communities, but here's an observation. If you go to Laramie, you'll see that for several years, they have really put an emphasis in and around the campus for development. They spend a lot of money on sports and such like that. They have done a great job in and around campus and on the side streets. What they've forgotten are the edges. And that just reminded me how important it is to look at the community whole as we do our improvements, because we're all whole, and don't forget the edges. And so when you drive through Laramie, get to the center fast. But it's just really difficult to see where they've kind of abandoned their areas around the interstate and have not done any effort towards that, and they've really put their effort in and around the core. So just keep that as a reminder to keep everything in perspective. So that's all I have.
Communications from town board members. So I have two things. One is we have a letter in our packet from Xfinity, and we get that from time to time. Are we ever, or should we ever consider a response email back to them, or is that just, I mean, I get lots of, I hear negative things about them all the time, and I know they drop these in and they put in, it's, this time it's a price increase. Well, it's very, very modest. I'm wondering though if we should also remind them that, hey, maybe some concerns that we have about some operations, operationally or not.
I think if you ever feel like you want to do that, it's within your prerogative. I don't know exactly what we can do about it, but I think you can let them know that you're monitoring and watching. This is an annual event for them to raise rates.
Right.
Then they now have modified categories. Regional sports fee is a new one within the last 3 or 4 years. So I have no problem if you want to try and draft a letter. Just let me try and know what you want to try and convey to them. But I don't think it hurts anything. So.
No. I don't know about my fellow board members, but I would like to send a response to them. I think we should be dutiful to our citizens and kind of remind them that, well, these, what our citizens' expectations are of them, and, and maybe remind them, about what those are, and remind them perhaps of some complaints that we might have received too.
I am looking forward to the response. There was a gentleman that wrote you an email about a week and a half ago.
Right.
And by my reading of the franchise, that subdivision which he lives in probably qualifies now. They had to extend if it's within a quarter mile. And I believe with where they are now is right across the street, catty corner. So I reminded them of that in a recent email to take a look at that. They have not responded back to us. They're still, both CenturyLink and Comcast as of last Thursday afternoon said we're still reviewing, so I'll remind you of that when we get an answer. But I would be happy to write a letter on your behalf, Mayor, saying we just want to make sure that we keep in mind affordability, accountability, and customer service.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. Good
Okay.
address.
And then lastly, just want to remind everybody, this is Labor Day weekend. It is the biggest weekend in Windsor. So hoping everybody has a happy and safe weekend. Make sure you come out to all of our festivities that we have. I believe they start on Saturday. Well, Saturday we've got lots of things, a big concert, and Sunday and Monday. So come out and support our organizations in Windsor, but do so safely, please. Okay? With that, I would seek a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion on the floor to adjourn. All in favor vote yes, opposed no.
Did you hit the right button?
Mr. Rennemeyer?
Did you get,
Just a big phone.
Oh, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
I heard that down there. He's commentating to the first stick.